But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start and say, this is us, and I am Dominic Parker, and give you guys a little bit of background about me. Hopefully, I won't get another phone call to interrupt this and get all messed up and jumbled up. So, but anyways, like I was saying, I'm actually 34, African American male. I live in Columbus, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half south of Atlanta, and I'm actually near a major military base, um, Fort Benning. So, and I didn't do this last time, but let me give a small description about myself. I'm actually, for those of you who are completely blind, I'm 5'11" or 6 foot. I weigh about 170 pounds, so I'm kind of slim build. I'm growing my hair out to like a little afro fro thing, so it's all over the top of my head. And for those of you who are aware who he looks or what he looks like, a lot of people compare me to Steve Urkel. So that I kind of dress up for him as Halloween, dress up as him. So yeah, that in itself is out of this world. So but anyways, again, I'm gonna try to hopefully not get interrupted and tell you guys a little bit of information about me. Actually, I'm a military brat. Both of my parents were in the Army. My father was a drill sergeant, and my mother, I believe, worked on cars. I don't really know a lot about that story. I doubt she did. She doesn't necessarily give me a car worker. Um, Thank you, Rashad. But I guess she initially went in to work on cars. But like I said, I don't know the full story behind that. So, but anyways, um, we traveled around a lot. My father was, like I said, was a drill sergeant. So we've lived in New Jersey, we've lived in New York, we've lived in Honolulu, Hawaii. We just were some travelers. But like I said, we finally settled down in Atlanta. And we moved all around the metro Atlanta area. So I've attended 3 different elementary schools, 4 different middle schools, and 1 high school, which is where I graduated from, Black Knight, Central Gwinnett, class of 2003. From there, I went to Memphis, Tennessee, where I ended up attending Memphis City Job Corps, which they eventually changed to Benjamin L. Hook's Job Corps, and I actually ended up becoming a certified health unit coordinator. While there, I actually started at Southwestern Community College and then transferred back to Atlanta to finish my pharmaceutical technician certification at Lanier Technical College in Atlanta. So after that, I actually ended up working as a mental health medical records clerk at a prison, Phillips State Prison. And again, just being a liaison, handling files, stuff like that. Kind of being a go-between for the psychiatrists, psychologists, and the doctors, and just working in a medical, facility, all the things that kind of come along with that. And so, I guess I'll go back and tell my vision loss story. So I actually, from the age of 8 or 9, I was actually juvenile diabetic or diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. And so, from the age of 8 or 9 to probably about 15, my mother handled a lot of my diabetes care, shots, blood sugars, all of that stuff. But at 15, she got pregnant with my youngest brother, Dante. And so at that point in time, she sat me down and told me that she was going to have to focus on taking care of my youngest brother. And that the diabetes was then going to have to be on my, in my hands. And again, being young and carefree and wild, I didn't want to, essentially. I never really made peace with the diabetes. So I pretty much wanted to act like I didn't have it. And so, again, just being young and partying and drinking. I'm surprised that I don't need a new liver. Drinking and partying and just doing what what I believe teenagers and young adults are supposed to do. And so, again, it was literally to the point, for those of you all who are familiar with diabetes or being a type 1 diabetic, you know that you have to take shots pretty much on the regular, sometimes multiple times a day, and check your blood sugar to kind of remain in control of your blood sugars and, all of that. It was to the point where I wasn't taking shots for like weeks, and that's weeks as in plural. So, and then the only time that I would take a shot or any type of medicine was because it was literally to the point to where I had no choice but to. I was literally on my way into the emergency room or whatnot, and that's where we were. So again, and then another thing is I had a really good bounce back. After going weeks without taking medicine, I could take a shot, and it was like my body would take it in, and I'd be back to normal, almost as if nothing had happened. So in my mind, I essentially was invincible. So after doing all of that, being in and out of the hospital, especially as a young adult, just in and out, ketone acidosis and going into comas, and it was horrible. I mean, there were, like I'm sure you guys heard when I participated in the last Real Talk, there were, I want to say, a couple of times where doctors came back after surgeries and trying to bring me back to life essentially, and told parents and loved ones that I'm not supposed to be here. The damage that I was doing to my body was just out of this world. And so, while working at the prison, I actually ended up getting bit by a spider, and the spider bit me on like the front part of my I guess it would be the shin bone. Um, but because I'm a picker, when the bump formed, I tried to bust it, and instead of sending the poison out, it went into my leg. So of course I got rushed to the hospital for that as well. Well, they were able to get the poison out and everything was okay, but they started to see that there were issues with my heart. And so they, of course, they ended up diagnosing me with congestive heart failure. And so with my heart only pumping at 60%, they wanted to make sure that they went in to make sure there were no blockages and stuff like that. And luckily they didn't find any. They were able to do certain exercises to kind of strengthen my heart back up. But it was when I was in the hospital for that extended period of time that my father came to visit me and noticed that my eyes were, like really sensitive to certain things that I guess he thought was out of the norm. So he suggested that I go see an eye doctor. Well, after going to see an eye doctor, she noticed that there were signs of the diabetes affecting my eye in the back of my eye. So I went to go see a retinophysis. So the retinophysis pretty much said that the veins and stuff in the back of my eye were leaking out blood and pooling blood in the center of my eye, which was affecting the retina. So essentially, he was going to have to go in, start off the ends of those veins, dry up the blood, and try to get the scar tissue off the retina. And to dry up the blood, he was going to have to do ocular shots with some type of, I forgot what he called it, but essentially it was supposed to draw up the blood. Well, I didn't want that. I refused. So I left and didn't come back. And that was probably the worst mistake I ever could have made. So what ended up happening is one morning while getting ready for work, I woke up and there was a blur spot in the middle of my vision. I could see everything around that blur spot, but I couldn't see through the blur spot. So of course, after freaking out, I rushed to the doctor, and come to find out, the process had begun. I was starting to lose my vision. So now there was no other option but to do the surgery and the shots and all of that. So after having a total of 8 operations on each eye, it ended up getting to the point to where each time he operated, the vision got worse and worse and worse. And then eventually he stopped and said that at this point he's not doing anything else but furthermore creating more damage, so he was going to go ahead and stop. But he said that there was a chance that they could be coming up with something with stem cell research to create new retinas, which essentially would be what I needed. So he actually has left my eyes in a condition to where, if need be, when something were to become available, he can throw me in the trial bunch and, possibly get me some new retinas. Well, while all of this was going down, after doing a whole bunch of lab tests, come to find out I was going into kidney failure. So along with the heart failure and the diabetes and the blindness, I was now dealing with kidney failure. So along with having to prepare myself to get ready for kidney failure and to start dialysis, the doctor suggested that I possibly try to get on the transplant list for a pancreas and kidney, which I didn't even know existed. I had heard about kidneys, but never about pancreases. So of course I got on the list and dialyzed for about 2 years. And then on November the 1st of 2015, that's when he called me in, and then I got my pancreas and kidney. And it's been pretty good ever since. I pretty much run numbers now as far as the diabetes go as if I never had diabetes, and that's definitely been a blessing. And so as of now, health-wise, the only issue that I'm dealing with is high blood pressure and the blindness. And hopefully, the kidney and pancreas continue to do what it's supposed to do. We are aware that transplants are not supposed to last forever, but you just keep it going. Hello, Alicia. So with that being said, that's a little bit of my backstory as to where I am right now as far as the vision loss. as far as the group goes, Rashad Jones, as I'm sure you guys are well aware of, when I moved down here to Columbus, up to that point, I had done the training with, the school and stuff like that, but I had never met anybody that was around my age or dealing with what I knew blindness could entail, because the only blind stories that I had were from elderly people. So when I got down to Columbus, I ended up running across Rashad in a news interview, and it's been great ever since then. I think what Rashad represented for me was that because he's around my age, there were people out here who were dealing with some of the same issues that I was dealing with, and that there was essentially a demographic of people who would be able to share their stories and help me along the way while I help them. Hence, Blind Pen Pals, which is what he introduced me to. I essentially started going and participating in Blind Pen Pals because, one, I felt like I was going to learn so much. And then just really for the fellowship of it all. I really wanted to get in and just meet other people who were going through situations similar to mine and had stuff to offer, and hoping that I could offer them something as well. Well, it was at that point that I went ahead and decided to start, after, coaxing from a couple of people, to start making videos. I had a lot of family members, elderly family members, who were dealing with vision loss as well, but didn't know where to go, who to ask, where to turn to, what resources were available. So I thought it was important that I made videos, if nothing else, but to help them and hopefully inspire somebody. So I actually have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel that actually is called Blind Justice, the way that I see it. And like I said, I make videos just kind of letting people know what resources I'm finding out about, and just trying to share the wealth, if you will. And I think a good thing about it is that a lot of times when I find out stuff, I'll get on the video and talk about it, because I want the viewer to feel like I'm learning along with the process, going through the process with that person. So like with me, where, oh wow, 50 years, Alicia? Okay, wow, that's amazing. So, but I didn't want people essentially to feel like how I did. So I essentially wanted to create the video so that people knew that there were other people out there who were going through this process with them, and that they weren't alone. At that point, as I'm sure you guys are aware of, I actually participate in the Real Talk with Chris and Ruth as of now. And then I also do these interviews, these This Is Us interviews, because I felt like it was important for everybody to get their story out there and hopefully learn something about each other, and start the fellowship, for lack of a better phrase or whatnot. So that's actually what brought me to the group, and then the rest is history. Okay, if somebody is in the group, please let me know, because for whatever reason, I guess now it's high time for business and everybody wants to call me right now. So I'm hoping that you guys can still hear me. So if you're in the group, please say something before I continue on. A wave or something. So Alicia, you can hear me. Okay, all right, Kitty, thank you. Okay, thank you, Rashad. Okay, Darian. And Alicia. Um, I'll go ahead and continue. So, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware, I am proudly waving the rainbow flag. So, with that being said, I don't mind talking about it. It's not something that I'm scared to admit or anything that I'm ashamed of. All of my family knows, all my friends know. So it's definitely not something that I am embarrassed of or whatnot. I my family, or at least my immediate family, was some of the last people that I actually told. So, but I think it ended up working out for my benefit, because I think it gave them the opportunity to make their peace with it as well. Because of course, you have people who don't necessarily agree with the lifestyle. So because of that, they kind of had to make their, settle their issues or differences with it. And then that way we could have moved on in effort of love for everybody. So I will say that my experience is not what you typically hear of with somebody dealing with being homosexual. I never really, now that I think about it, considering I never really had, anybody to really bash me or, talk bad about me, or at least not to my face, let me put it that way. And essentially I have had a good support system. So, I definitely have to thank God for that. But I do sympathize for people who may have not had such a good experience with it, because I know that it can be pretty hard for some. But yeah, again, as you guys are, I'm sure you guys are aware, when we do a lot of these live videos and talks and stuff like that, it's something that I have no problem with joking about or talking about with, just anything. So, just wanted to throw that out there just in case anybody was wondering or didn't catch on to the clues or whatever. But yeah, so, rainbow flag. So, outside of that, a little bit of information about me. Some of my aspirations have been that I wanted to be a DJ. For a long time. I actually kind of got the inspiration because my father, who is based out of Queens, or Jamaica, Queens, New York, for those of you all who are some Northerners, some Yankees, but he actually was best friends with Jam Master Jay from Run DMC. Lord rest the dead. But yeah, and so as a kid, I was always so interested about the art of it and just how people were able to do it, but then it just seemed so seamless and so easy and just, all of that. And then of course I lost my vision. And so it's like, okay, well, how is this going to happen now? But I've always had a love for music. Like I said, my thing is that I feel like music invokes certain emotions, makes you feel certain ways towards situations, tells a perspective that you may not be aware of. And so because of that, I feel like it's just almost like, like they say music is the universal language, and I definitely believe that it is. Outside of that, I tend to associate certain memories with certain music. So with there may be a song that I associate with a certain particular part of my childhood, or a song that I associate with a certain person. And so when it's like one of them things where you hear that song and it takes you back. That's some of the beauty that I feel like comes along with music. As far as my music taste, y'all, I'm all over the place. Classical, R&B, hip hop, rock, metal, alternative, Caribbean, bachata, Bollywood, what are we talking about? Folk, country. I mean, I feel like, I always felt like, along with loving music, a DJ has to be well versed in what music is out there, and just everything, the oldies to the new stuff. I feel like that's what a true DJ is, and they can't be biased. Who wants to hire a DJ that only wants to play a certain amount or a certain type of music? But another thing that I'm trying to work out within myself is the fact that I think when I lost my sight, I kind of felt like a lot of things were now out of my reach. Okay, you're blind, so that means you're not gonna be able to do this. And I never forget when I did my training, there was a mobility instructor, and I still keep in contact with her to this day. And one of the things that she told me was, hey, you're blind, you can still do everything you did before, you just got to find another way of doing it. So some of the things that I used to love to do, I'm now trying to learn a new appreciation for and now try. So, I didn't think I'd be able to enjoy movies. I go to the movies now. Been bowling. What's the indoor, like, skydiving experience? I've done that. Along with that, so I'm trying to make sure, thanks Rashad, I'm trying to learn to say, don't write yourself out with so many things. So like DJing, I want to go roller skating, and I know, I don't know how that's going to turn out. I'm assuming it's probably not going to be all that great, but it's almost like learning to walk or learning a new language. It's like you're learning something new about yourself. That's like, okay, wow, I do have a new appreciation for this. So, I have to constantly remind myself that, but there are a lot of endeavors and activities and things and hobbies that I want to start up and hopefully try to, do something with them. So, yeah, that's a little bit of me. I said in the last time I did this video, again, I don't know how many of you guys are really into zodiac signs and stuff like that, but I am a Pisces. So, I tend to believe that zodiac signs are kind of like a roadmap, but are not necessarily, each quality does not necessarily ring true for every Pisces or every Virgo or every Scorpio. I think, again, it's supposed to kind of give you a general idea. But for those of you all who do know about Pisces, we can be very emotional, which is true. I definitely wear my emotions on my sleeve. We can be selfish at times, which is true about me. We are good friends or loyal friends, which I do believe is true about me as well. It says that we can be liars. Now, I tend to operate in a space of brutal honesty. No matter how embarrassing or how rude or how inconvenient, I definitely work in that because I know how I feel about being told the truth. And I would hope that being told the truth would mean as much to the other person as it did to me. So, that's a little bit about me. Do you guys have any questions before I end this? I guess I'll go back in the comments and see. Hello, Alejandro. So since I don't see any questions, I'm actually going to go ahead and draw this to a close. Like I said earlier, I'm going to try to see if I can get a hold of Lori and do a live video with her as well as promised, and see if we can work that out, and then go from there. So I okay, Alicia, I hear you. But yeah, I'm going to try to get a hold of her and try to do this live. So hopefully you guys are available to watch as well. But other than that, hopefully you guys learned a little bit more about me and my story and who I am and why I do what I do. So I appreciate it. And hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your evening.